and then we'll start. Hey, Chris. I think I've got to minimize one of these things. So I'll look at you guys on this one. Cool. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining, man. Good to see you.
Oh, bro. Oh, good, bro. Good to see you too, man. I got my baby boy here.
Oh, starting on the personal development early.
That's right. Yeah. Planting the seeds early.
Man. Welcome. Fernand, Matt, welcome. Please do feel free to put on your camera. It's going to be, I think, a much more of a fun session. The more cameras, the more smiling faces are on. I'm sure you're all very beautiful people. I'm just giving, yeah, I'll go at 6:02. I won't delay longer than that. And I should have thought to put on some music now. It's okay, Angel.
How many people have you got joining approximately?
I didn't check right at the end, but I feel like there was 30. So, 30 people.
Pretty good.
Yeah, 30 people register. You probably get four legends who actually, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cameras still on. So yeah, who knows if all 30 is going to show up. Zane, good to see you, man.
Hey, Dim. How are you, mate?
I'm good, man. Thanks for joining again.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. Definitely.
Kedge? Always good, man. Always a pleasure. Gajan, good to see you again, man. Josh. So good. And a whole crew came out. How good. All right, I'll start in 1 minute. If anyone has any other questions, if anyone has any questions, let me know. I definitely appreciate as many cameras on as possible, purely because when I'm taking people through the concepts, it helps me to see your faces, because then I can read if you've got a confused look on your face. I can read if you're understanding it. I can judge based on kind of the feedback you give me, whether I need to slow down, whether I need to explain things more. So I appreciate every single person who's got a camera on. Thank you. And everyone who's come.
Hi, Tim.
Hey, Anusha, good to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm going to do my best with the camera, but I'm going to be feeding baby at the same time and jumping on this too. So I'll be on and off camera.
Totally understand. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Dishna, nice to see you, man.
Nice to see you too.
Is that your actual backdrop, or is that?
No, that's fake. I don't leave here.
Awesome.
I wish.
It looks real. It looks real and it looks awesome.
I love that.
All right, I think I've got 1 or 2. All right, it's 6:03, so I'm going to start. Matt, thanks for joining, man, and nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, mate. Looking forward to it.
And Prashant, thanks for coming, man. Good to see you. Good commitment on the train, man.
Hey Tim, how's it going? Yeah, sorry, I'm on the train, so it might be a bit choppy.
Nothing to apologize.
But thanks for hosting this.
Yeah, you're so welcome. All right, everyone, look, thanks for joining. I don't want to keep us waiting longer than that. I'll start. So I appreciate everyone for coming. Guys, as you would have seen in my, sorry, if you see me starting and stopping, it's literally because I'm just letting last minute people into the room. But as you may have seen, as I advertise this, I've been on, my big entrepreneurial journey, or my version of an entrepreneurial journey. Through my time in corporate, which I'll explain, I had my forays with learning about wealth mindset and learning about accumulating, my property portfolio and my shares. And then I left corporate to start my entrepreneurial journey. And then I learned about wealth mindset at a much deeper level, which I'll get into. And genuinely, this session is is mostly an opportunity for me to share the things that I've learned. And that's why, while I am aware that some of you are people that, you know, I've not met before, you may no doubt have noticed there's a lot of people on here who are my clients as well, or my old clients. And the reason I've invited everyone I could is because for me, I really want to help you guys like see, you know, the intricacies of like a strong wealth mindset, so you can create more wealth in your life too. So does that sound good with everyone for us to get started as an intro? So awesome. Thank you for the visual feedback. Let's get into it. So I'm going to give you an overview of what I'm going to take you through. Can everyone see my shared screen, by the way?
Yeah, mate.
Yep.
Thank you for the feedback. Cool. So we'll just do some introductions in the chat. I'll take you through what I mean by that. Then I'll give you an overview of my story. So depending on who you are and where you've kind of come across me, you may know chunks of my story. I'll just give you an overview in specifically related to the wealth mindset stuff. And through this story itself, I would like to show you a few points which I'm really sure you'll find handy. And then I'm going to get into 3 different mindset modules. So, you know, for some of you, you may be aware that when people say they're going to do a webinar, it's really just like a glorified sales session. This is legit. The reason I brought like some of my old clients here is because, sorry, I'm just re-inviting people, like admitting people into the room. The reason I've invited, you know, some of my old clients here is I genuinely want to show you some freaking amazing stuff in the realm of just how you can approach and wealth and accumulate wealth for yourself and have a strong wealth mindset. So there are 3 modules I'll take you through at an introductory level here. Then we'll get into internal blocks, which usually always comes up and is really important to address. And through the initial concepts and the discussion about internal blocks, and I mean to make this as an interactive session as possible, you're going to realize there's 2 key ingredients, which if you don't have those 2 things, then a lot of these other things don't really work for you. If you've read the book or heard of the book Think and Grow Rich, he refers to like a secret that is in it. And I don't mean law of attraction, like he's referring to something else. I believe like there's 2 core things, which is what he's talking about in the book Think and Grow Rich, and that's what I'm going to explain in the 2 ingredients piece. Then we'll just have a bit of time for Q&A. Like I'm doing my best to keep on time with like an hour. That's what I promised. And then, you know, I am aware that there's going to be people here on this call who, you know, are interested in potentially working with me further and are coming to this session to just get to know me a bit. So towards the end of this, I will share details on how you can work with me if that's something you would like to have a look at. So does that all sound good? And if it does, would you be nice enough to jump into the chat right now and just give an intro to us on who you are? So I just want to give you an opportunity to participate from the jump. Please just share your name and what you do and anything else you'd like to say. Welcome, Tamzed, sales rep and Invisalign. Sounds great. Matt, awesome, man. Clearance diving officer in the Navy. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Josh, welcome, man. Always good to see you. Sales BD in a fintech company. Abby, working in finance, back for a refresher. You're always welcome. John, welcome. Hydraulic engineer, and I know you're passionate about wealth building and investments, and yeah, you're amazing. Gudgeon, working at P-Dubs, welcome. Anusha, a full-time mama and a caseworker at a doctor's college. Well done. Thank you for welcome and thank you for coming. Zane, 10 years in banking. Kesh, I didn't even know you were here, Kesh. Good, I'm glad you're here. Legal assistant at ABL and economic student. Kedge, property investment specialist. Kedge, I might even get you to do an intro a bit later, man. Thanks for coming, man. Callum, customer success, sales, crypto, investing, property, freaking legend. How do I pronounce? Oh, Dara. course. Working in customer success in Sydney-based SAS, scale-up, Dishna, customer service supervisor, Prashan, graduate engineer, Chris, father of two, graphic designer of Fitness First, legend, welcome, Lochana, IT PM, Chris, using my partner's like, no problem. And Fernand, graduate mechanical engineer. Welcome to you all. I really appreciate you all being here, and I genuinely really respect your time. And I don't take your time. I don't want to disrespect your time by like wasting it on some BS. So I really hope you get heaps out of today. Kaya, welcome. Patient safety officer, welcome. Let's get into it. Thank you for your introductions. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. So FYI, for people who don't really know me at all, just the exact summary of my life before entrepreneurialism. Basically, after high school, I was in the army for 4 years. I saw someone in the Navy, which is awesome. Yeah, I was in the army for 4 years. I got trained as an infantry officer while I was doing uni. And after the army, I joined full-time work, and I was a IT project manager, basically from the beginning, from when I was 22 years old. And what happened with me was, and by the way, there's going to be a lot of times where I'm like talking and there's not going to be much on the slides. On the top right-hand corner of Zoom, you can adjust the view, so you can do like a side-by-side view if that's easier for you. But basically, look, with me, I was working in corporate, and exact summary is I didn't find myself very fulfilled or feeling like I was doing something meaningful, even though I was doing like relatively good in corporate. When I was 21, I had the opportunity to go to Costa Rica, where I was building an orphanage in Costa Rica. Like you can do like volunteer charity kind of building work. And as you can imagine, you know, you're working in Costa Rica with like these little kids and you're building an orphanage for them and they're underprivileged. It's really fulfilling. It's a fulfilling thing to do with your life. And then I contrasted that with coming to corporate, and like, you know, I was working like for HP, but it was a client like this oil company. And I was like, man, I don't really feel any fulfillment in this. And so at 25, I had achieved like a lot, like, you know, on the resume, but I was really unfulfilled inside. And so I decided to leave my job for good and just go soul searching around the world. And the one thing that had given me meaning in my life in the past was like, you know, I had gone to Costa Rica and built that orphanage. I had gone to Ubud in Bali and built a kindergarten. And so that made me like, you know, what felt meaningful was like, you know, doing something in contribution. So when I was 25, I went to Africa, to Kenya, and I was building homes in Kenya. And like in this time, you know, I was sharing with my friends that, hey guys, like, I don't really know what I'm doing with my life. Like, I don't really find fulfillment in corporate. And my friends were like, oh man, like, you know, we went to uni, now we're in corporate. Do you want to go back to uni? Like, that's all they really knew what to say. You know, it's you go to uni, then you go to corporate, and then you're supposed to find a way to be happy and motivated and all that. And for me, I was struggling with that. And in that time, it was the personal development books. It was Tony Robbins and Eckhart Tolle and David Deida and books like this, which gave me guidance in a time where I didn't feel like I had much. And when I came back, I decided, you know what, I'm going to build up a property portfolio of my own and become financially free so I can just go around the world building orphanages. That was my original plan. Using what I learned in these personal development books, I went back to find a job, and I landed a job that paid 200 grand a year. And I was still 25 years old at the time. And I used to earn 60 grand a year before that. So I was like, wow, this personal development thing, like, it's not just some BS like I'm reading in a book, like it actually resulted in something for real. And here, I just stopped sharing for a sec. And it actually resulted in something for real. And so then I went back to corporate. I ended up at the peak having 6 properties like just buying up properties and like going on this journey. And on the journey, I started to realize that I really liked personal development, and I was sharing that on Instagram, and I started to have young guys coming to me looking for guidance. And that's when I decided at 29 years old, you know what, I think I'm going to leave corporate and I'm going to try my hand at having my own business doing coaching. And that was like, you know, almost 4 years ago now. So that's kind of like a little bit about my story. And to be honest, that's where the slides actually start. So I leave everything behind. In March 2019, I left P-Dubs and I had 30K saved up. And mind you, from 18 years old, I was used to having a steady paycheck. So I didn't know what life without having a steady paycheck was going to be like. In August 2019, I moved out with my fiance, Anna, who's actually on this call as well. Even though I said, everyone, can you put your cameras on? I'm pretty sure Anna's camera's off somewhere. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, great. So, in November 2019, I spent 15 grand on doing coaching certifications and committed to another 25 grand. And I'm sharing this stuff with you to share with you that this is Dim going into the big bad world of entrepreneurialism without a steady paycheck, basically getting sold into different programs, telling me to believe in abundance and stuff. And like all my money is just going. And then in January 2020, like all the shit hits the fan. I have these investment property dramas. I had like deals that were gonna happen getting canceled. And in the space of 48 hours, I freaking lost $20,000. I just watched $20,000 go out of my account. And I legit, this is the first time I've ever told this story, by the way. I legit had $30 left in my account. And I didn't have like any money coming in. I literally had $30 across my accounts, and I had rent due the next day. And I was like, what the freak do I do? And I didn't want to like call my parents. And I'm from a culture, and presumably most people here are from a similar kind of upbringing, where you're not supposed to call your parents when things go bad. Rather, like at a certain age, you want to be giving back to your parents. So I actually called my best friend and I borrowed money from my best friend to pay the rent like the next day. And I thankfully scraped enough money during the month to pay him back. And basically in February, I called up another friend to borrow money for the next month's rent. And that continued for most of 2020. So this is legit like what I freaking went through. And it was really hard. And I'm trying to, if I can be honest, like trying to not get emotional, like talking about this, but it was really hard and it was really humbling. Another great thing happened though in 2020 Feb, was Anna introduced me to this mentoring, this mentor who taught me these things called wealth principles, which I'm going to give you an exposure to here today. And also, by the way, like COVID's happening during all of this. And the primary way back then that I was getting my name out there was I was running these meditation sessions on the beach, which I could no longer do because we were in lockdown. And I run retreats, which I could no longer do because we were in lockdown. So like you can hopefully imagine, like this was a really difficult time. And it really was like a really humbling, difficult time. But I I had made a promise to Anna that I was going to propose to her that year. And I followed the wealth principles that this guy taught me. And that's like some of the stuff I'm going to show you here today. And through all this, like I'm trying not to swear on this, but like through all this hard stuff that I was going through, because can you imagine, you don't have money to pay the rent. Like you pretty much don't have that much money like you don't have that much stuff in the fridge. And in all of this, you're supposed to somehow like find it in you to be in a good mood, to have a strong mind, to be resilient, to be able to coach and help others. But you yourself are really struggling. And that was like my reality. And in all of this, and COVID's happening and everyone was freaking struggling during COVID. So like through all of this, I was able to save up 30 grand to buy a ring. And I don't say this in any cocky type of way. Like I was so damn humbled during this stuff. But then basically what happened was that when I had reached that goal, I got too cocky and I was like, oh, sweet. Like I got this in the bag, abundance. And then like I broke those wealth principles that I was sticking by and I lost it all. and the clients dried up and I went back to borrowing money again. So this is like the legit story I went through like 2 years ago. And in March 2021, which was 2 years after I left corporate, I go to this retreat. Like a good friend of mine said, Dim, come to this entrepreneurs only retreat and reflect on stuff. And I did. And like, by the way, I'm a really big believer in retreats. Like, as you guys probably know, I run retreats. And it was because of this version of the retreat in like 2017, which encouraged me to leave my job as well. So retreats, I find a very like, it's a really nice reflective time to think about life, and I get a lot out of it. So that's why I run them myself. Anyway, I went on the retreat and reflected everything, and I realized that what I was doing was not sustainable. I like a couple of things. Number one, I realized I had unrealistic expectations of myself. A lot of the stuff I'm going to show you. So for example, I realized at that retreat that my monthly expenses are actually $4,500 a month. And I was like, dude, $4.5 grand a month. How the F am I spending $4.5 grand a month? And I realized it's because of my investment properties. A lot of the times, because of bills or drama or whatever, I was not receiving income from those properties. And so I had to front like $2,000 out of my own pocket every month to keep those things afloat. And then when you have rent and, you know, groceries and then like repayment plans, it was $4,500. And I was like, dude, no wonder I'm struggling so much. So that was one of the pieces that I reflected on and realized like it was not sustainable and there were unrealistic expectations. And I also realized I was worried about what other people think, because what would people think if I tried this coaching thing and it failed and I had to go back to corporate? And so I went through all of this stuff, you know, and confronting and letting go a lot of ego and fear and all of the doubt and all of that stuff. And I'm like, you know what, I've got to go back to corporate. And I started to re-engage like old clients and friends and blah, blah, sorry, old bosses to see if I can get a job. And then in that month, everything turned around. And I'll show you, this is a real life pic. I took this yesterday. It's a screenshot from last year's financial plan. You can see in January, like over here, like, can you see my mouse? Yeah, you can, right? So yeah, over here, like is where I kind of write like the customer emails and stuff. And then here is like the income that comes in. So like one of the reasons I'm showing you this, and this is maybe something you even want to take note of, track every damn dollar. Like going through all this hardship taught me I had to track every dollar. So I do now. And I'll help you understand why. But you can see in January, the total I made was 1,200 in total. In February, it was 1,200. And in March, when I went to this retreat, it was like 2.2K. But then things genuinely started to turn around. And like in April, I made 4K, in June, 11, July, 19, August, 24, September, 24. And then like, you know, most of this year has been fluxing around kind of the 20 to 30 mark. So kind of like late 20s is where it's been fluxing at the moment. And it's because of the principle, like the three primary things, which I'm going to show you here, that that this turnaround happened. So how am I going so far, by the way? Does this make sense? I can't really see everyone. Sorry.
Yeah, it's good stuff, mate.
Thanks, Cal. Bless
Yes.
you. Am I making sense?
Yeah, love it, love it.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. I appreciate the feedback. Cool. So it's so crazy. Like when you're doing a Zoom thing, like it's all quiet and it's just your voice. So it's like it's really awkward. So I just do my best to like look at your faces. Cool. So as I said, there's three things that help me improve my wealth game. Here's the first one. And let's get interactive. How do you think about something that you love to do? And now I want, like, let's just forget about wealth for a second and think about anything. Think about, do you like walking? Do you like cooking? Do you like playing music? Do you like listening to music? Do you anything? Can I have one volunteer to unmute themselves and tell me about something that they love to do? It can be the most random thing.
Playing sports with my friends.
What kind of sports, Tamsin? Thank you.
basketball, table tennis, anything that involves like a smallish group of people, cricket, anything like that.
Okay, would it be okay if I did a kind of back and forth question with
Go,
you?
man, go.
Cool. So everyone, I want you to watch this and I want you to reflect on what you love when you're listening to this. Tamsin, can you just pick one of those sports or maybe one that you played recently and just tell us what you love about that sport?
Basketball, we play every Tuesday night.
Yeah.
It means I get to catch up with 4 or 5 to 6 of my friends every single week. I get a little bit of exercise, which I've been lacking recently as well. Makes me feel like my body's working a bit.
Cool.
You get to break down what happens and learn and improve every week. We've been playing for about 2 years now, and just seeing how far we've come. We're really amateur, don't get me wrong, but seeing how far we've come from the start is really good. This is the first time that we've got a 4-4, 50% win record, which is amazing for us. We're not very good, like I said, but just seeing that develop and that grow over the past couple of years has been really good.
That was an awesome example. Can we just have a weird Zoom round of applause for Tamsin for giving us giving an awesome example? Cool, man, well done. I appreciate that. So everyone, I want you to pay attention to a few things that he kind of had his mind towards and what he called out when he described that. One thing he talked about was time. Another thing he talked about was consistency. Another thing he talked about was like he didn't expect amazing. He was like, oh, I'm not like, we're not pros, we're amateurs, but it didn't discourage him to keep being consistent and keep trying. Another thing is he does it with friends. So you can see a few elements there that he loves, which keeps him coming back and keeps him applying himself with basketball. So here's my, I actually thought I had a question that doesn't matter. Because what I want to show you is how we think obviously determines how we act, and how we act is going to determine the results we get. What we had an insight to just then when Tamsin described this is how he thought, which is determining how he shows up in basketball and is determining the results that he gets. And recognize that the results that you're getting right now, especially the financial results you're getting right now, they are a reflection of how you're thinking right now about it. How you think right now about finances is reflected in what's in the reality. So if you want different results, it starts with shifting how you're thinking about the finances. So when we think about Tamsin's example, Tamsin, what do you say to someone who wants to get better at basketball when they tell you about basketball? That like let's say that you shared with them about basketball, and then someone says, oh, I would like to, yeah, I want to get better at it, but I struggle. Like, what do you say to that person?
It's pretty much nothing but practice.
Cool.
And yeah, repetition. Yeah.
Cool. What do they say when they say, oh, what would you say when you say, oh, like, oh, I don't like to look at the basketball court because it makes me overwhelmed, or I struggle with my motivation to come to the basketball court. What would you say?
I would just say come and have a good time. We're not here to win. We're not here to do anything. It's just a social thing for us.
Cool. So not much pressure you can see on the way he approaches it. It's just like, come and just give it a shot. Right? Thank you, Tamsin. Can we just have another weird Zoom applause for Tamsin real quick, everyone? Thank you.
Thanks, baby.
Can I get what I'm doing is putting together a few pieces of the puzzle for everyone. Can I get one more person to come through? I promise this is all going to make sense in a second. Can someone else come through, unmute themselves and tell me about something that they really love? Can be the weirdest thing.
I enjoy watching movies.
Is that you, Zane?
Yep.
Cool. What kind of movies?
So it kind of ranges from like slapstick comedy all the way to like really trippy and deep types of movies as well. So depending upon the vibe that I'm in, I'll kind of like sit down and kind of escape reality and then hopefully kind of come out of it feeling a certain type of way.
That sounds pretty cool. That sounds pretty cool. Escaping reality, like a bit like, you know, and like you have like a range of movies that you like to watch. What would you say to someone who struggles to watch movies? What would you say to someone who says, oh man, like, yeah, I really would love to, but like, you know, like it's a bit of a challenge for me to set up a Netflix account, or I haven't figured out how to get Netflix on my TV. Like, and they're telling you about the challenges that they face when they want to watch a movie. What would you say to that person?
I mean, I'd say there's a lot of instructions kind of out there, or I'd kind of help them out as well in setting it up. Yeah, and I would just kind of just say it's pretty easy these days to kind of set yourself up as well.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, that would be probably my answers as well. And I guess anyone kind of having a challenge with sitting there and watching a movie would be just kind of like just learning to let go. Yeah, that's what I'd say to them, just so they can sit there and actually enjoy the movie.
Really good. Here's what I want to show everyone. Thank you. Can we Zoom round of applause for our boy Zane? Thank you very much, Zane. Here's what I want to show everyone. In the things that you love, or in the things that you're good at, you naturally already have a performance mindset. Your mindset, when you think about things that you love and things that you're good at, you're already doing the right things, and you already know what to tell yourself. And that's what you want to apply to wealth building. So an example of it is, when you're thinking about basketball or watching movies, the truth is there are challenges to getting on the basketball court. There's skill challenges or whatever, driving to the basketball court, or whatever people could interpret as a challenge. Number one, TAMSA doesn't even recognize that those things are challenges. They're just part of the process of getting on of enjoying the game of basketball. In the same way, the challenges that we might face in wealth building, like for example, like managing money, to the people who are doing wealth building well, they don't interpret them as challenges. They just interpret them as part of the process, and don't have a really high expectation of it. Just let go, just enjoy, don't have massive expectations, just get in there and get used to playing on the court, or get used to watching the movies. And as Zane said, there's actually plenty of instruction. Don't put that much pressure on yourself. I'll help you if you need to. You can do it. But what you can see with anything that you love or anything that you're good at, you actually don't put that many expectations on yourself, and you just allow yourself to get immersed in the process of it. You let go, right? And you have a very healthy relationship to being involved in it. A lot of people who struggle with finances, or who want to do better with finances, but don't seem to make progress, it's because they don't love it. And why would something love you if you don't have any love for it? So what you want to do in the field of finances is think about whatever you are good at, and think about your approach to that, and see how you can replicate that with finances. Like, for example, I really love my car. So like I will get at work. Like I drive it all the time. Like I get at work, I take time to just appreciate that thing. I look at photos of it, right? So what would happen to my bank account if I did the same thing, if I like checked it all the time? And that's what I do. Like, by the way, like one of the things I started to do, I look at it like every day. I get to know it really well. Like I think about what my expenses are, what's going in, what's coming out of it. And you get to know it really well. So what I'm trying to show you in the very first part of this mindset stuff is love is the answer. Like you've got to love the process of wealth building for it to work well for you. Otherwise, it will always feel like a chore. Just like that person who's saying, man, me getting on Netflix, like, you know, getting on, that's a chore. You know, me getting on the basketball court, that's a chore. You can't think of it like a chore. Otherwise, you'll never do it to the greatness that someone who loves it will do. Does that make sense so far, or was that all bullshit? because I said I wouldn't swear, but does that
Definitely
help?
makes sense. Yeah.
Because like, and what I love about like John's on this. John's big. There's a few boys on this who have a very high value on wealth building, and I appreciate that feedback, John, because like John's, I would say one of those boys, and if that resonates with you, then I know I'm on the money here. Does anyone else have any feedback on that before I go on to the next point? Feedback, thoughts, anything? This doesn't have to be Dim's show.
Yeah, mate. I'll chirp up. The first thing this is the second time I've come to these things, and I just want to say, this is your first one was great, mate. This one's way better. This is fantastic, and I think I've heard some of this stuff years ago, but it's really great to be reminded of it, and it makes me absolutely think about yeah, exactly what we're talking about here. Things in my life that I find easy and that I enjoy, and how I'm thinking about them, and what I'm doing in those areas. And then the areas of my life that are like kind of a bit, you know, a bit lacking. And I can clearly see areas that are like, not even just, you know, in wealth, but also other areas that this principle would be powerful in.
Yeah, thank you, Paul.
Yeah, it's great, mate. Love it.
Appreciate you sharing. Cool. All right, everyone, let's get to the next part of this, because I'd like to think that this builds on itself. So I'm gonna I just want to give you a moment to reflect for yourself and maybe take down some notes. Think about whatever you love to do. What would you say to someone who wants to get better at it? What is your perspective to challenges in those areas? Just take 1 minute, write down what you would say to that person, because that will be great advice. Cool. All right, let's crack on. I'll give you a few moments to reflect on different things. Now, this next part, I'm honestly, I feel so blessed to be able to take you guys through. This next part I call duality in wealth building. Now, guys, when you understand this thing about duality, see, the thing is, and let me do it this way. I assume everyone is here on this session because they want to get financially solid. And I would imagine in any area that you care about. Now, for example, you guys know that while I do some business coaching and other performance coaching, I also do personal coaching. If someone's looking to work on their emotions or their anxieties or their inner stuff, I ask them, you know, like, can you help me understand a little bit more about you know, where you'd like to be? They'll usually share, you know, I want to be centered. I want to be emotionally centered. I want to be grounded. When I'm on the stage about to present to people, I want to feel centered in myself. So presumably in the same way, in a relationship, you want to be solid in your relationship. In the same way, I imagine in finances, you want to be solid. Watch this. Everything in the universe that we perceive is in duality, and I'll explain that. And when you can understand this, it freaking is amazing. You know, in wealth building. So this is what, when people think about wealth building, this is what usually entices people and what people want. They want promotions, they think about capital gains, they think about sales, and they think about other forms of healthy income. I'm going to use a relationship example because it's fun to help you understand this concept of wealth building. Can someone unmute themselves and tell me what the honeymoon period is in a relationship?
Period at the start of a relationship where there's no red flags and everything's on the positive scale.
Right. So it's at the start. There's no red flags, or you ignore the red flags, and it's all positive, right? So what's her perspective of you, or the person you're dating? What's their perspective of you during the honeymoon period?
Everything's all good. You're on the positive side of the spectrum. Yeah, just I guess sometimes you turn the blind eye to a lot of things.
Right. Would it be fair to say, in the honeymoon period, is it true love in the honeymoon period, or is it more infatuation in the honeymoon period?
Say more infatuation.
It's more infatuation, right? How does this sound for everyone else? Is this making sense for everyone else? Like in the honeymoon period, usually this first 3 months, you're more infatuated with the person than you are in true love with the person. Does anyone refute that, by the way, just so we can get clear on any definitions?
Can't say it too loud, Dim. She's upstairs.
Bless you, Josh. Okay. All right. So that's the honeymoon period. Now, why is the honeymoon period not true love? Would it be fair to say that if you look back at the pendulum, the honeymoon period is kind of on one side, where in the beginning you're seeing all that's great about you, and she's seeing all that's great about you, and you're seeing all that's great about her. Sorry, I'm using I'm speaking to a guy usually because I'm used to working with just men, but I appreciate there's men and women here. Presumably everyone would agree with me that in the honeymoon period, the person you're dating is seeing all the plus in you, and you're seeing all the plus in them. But that's not true love. In the same way, if you were a celebrity, you'll have fans that say that they love you, but you'll never really feel the depth of a connection to a fan that you will to one of your best friends that's been with you through all the ups and the downs. Because the person who's been with you through the ups and the downs, they've not just seen you at your best, they've seen you at your worst. They've seen you on the other side. They've seen you when you've been minus, not just plus. And they've still chosen to accept you and be with you in the minus. And the person who truly loves you doesn't just love you for your plus, but they accept your minus too. And we feel true love when we are recognized and seen for both. And your partner is going to feel truly loved when you don't just like their plus, but you're with them through all their minus. That's what true love is. Does everyone understand that as a concept? What I'm saying? Does anyone not? Can anyone, please feel free to just jump in and ask me a question if I'm not making sense, okay? But what I want to show you is true love is not honeymoon period, and it's not just plus. Same thing with finances. The other side of the coin, almost literally, of finances is like for example, if you want to get a promotion or get do better in your career, there's going to be a different level of energy that you're going to be putting into it. And also capital gains, the other side of that is like you're allocating money well. And the other side of sales is managing your expenses, because what good is it to make income? I think it's called Parkinson's law, which is like, yes, you can make more money, but if your expenses are going up with the money, then the net difference is the same, or you'll still not feel like you have that much money if your expenses are going up with the income. So with healthy income, you need healthy dispersion. And that's how you do the minus, the other side of the coin of finances in the light. Most people do not do this. Instead, but the thing is, the universe always has to give you duality. It always has to swing back and forth. So the more you go for promotions, capital gains, sales, and healthy income, if you're not managing your energy, if you're not allocating money well, if you're not managing your expenses, and if you don't have a healthy dispersion, you're instead going to experience energy crashes. You're not going to have allocated money for the rainy day. you're going to splurge money, and as a result, you're going to have financial crashes. Is this making sense? Does this resonate at all with what I'm saying?
Yep.
So what I would encourage everyone to take a note of are these factors here: energy output, allocation of money, managing expenses, and dispersing money accurately. Because if you don't, the truth is that the pendulum swings no matter what. So either you handle the minus, minus, minus in the light, because if you don't, it's going to come to you just in the dark. And the dark form of it is energy crashes, no allocation, splurging money, and then you don't have money for the important things. So you see, this is all about love at the end of the day, right? Like you know, love, you can't just like true love and sorry, and thanks, Kesh, burnout and then associated recovery costs also happens. Money, a lot of money doesn't come, like the lessons that I have learned is a lot of money does not come to us if we're just infatuated with it. When you're playing the game of infatuation, it's like you're in high school and you're chasing that person that you've got a crush on, and you feel the highs and lows, like a roller coaster, emotional roller coaster of that. That's what happens to people who are infatuated with it. But the people who truly love it recognize that there's the labor of love, the other side of the coin, which is the energy output, like managing your energy, allocating well, managing your expenses, and dispersing it in a healthy way. And when you can own both of those sides, that's when you become financially solid. Does anyone have any questions on this before I go to the next one? Cool. So I want to get a little bit more practical now. So on all of this, those four elements is what leads you to the question of, well, how do I govern myself then? Because, and here's the question I ask you: when you receive money, what do you do with it? One of the reasons I showed you that spreadsheet is because you can see every freaking dollar. I'm tracking every freaking dollar now. And I've learned that through a lot of pain and a lot of humbling. One thing I've taught all the boys who are like in my alumni group or who I've coached is when you get $1, put 10 cents here, put 20 cents here, like 15 cents here. Like you manage it like on a spreadsheet, like a hawk. Because if you don't, because watch this, like, so I'm going to give you a couple of areas like to make this practical, right? Do you allocate for savings, for your treats, for your rent, for your chat? Like, these are the things you want to write down, by the way. Groceries, invest, like these are ideas of buckets: savings, treats, rent, charity, groceries, investments, holidays, bills. Those are some examples. Like what the boys who've been in my programs know is, like, I've given them like specific instructions on, you want to put 10 cents here, 20% here, every 3 months, increase the savings by 10%. Give yourself a subtle pressure to increase your income, because if you're increasing your savings by 10% every 3 months, then that means you're going to have less money for the other things. So like, there are more tactical ways to do this, but at least for your sake, for coming to this session, I want to give you some clue on how you can cut up $1 when it comes in. Because hopefully you can see that when you start to allocate and manage your expenses this way, then your bases are covered for whatever is coming, because you've done the due diligence beforehand to put aside money for whatever you need. Basically, what we're talking about here is financial boundaries. You're creating boundaries. It's financial discipline. But here's the cool thing: discipline creates freedom. Boundaries create independence. If you have a castle in the middle of some massive open plain, technically you've got freedom, because everywhere you look, like, it's all yours. But it's actually a border. It's actually a boundary around the castle, which is going to create true freedom. because the boundary is what makes sure that that space around you in the castle is stress-free, is safe, is protected. So to get financial independence or financial freedom, it starts with financial boundaries. Because you know, when you start to cut up your money like this, you're going to have the peace of mind that when things come, you're good because you put money aside for it. Is this all bullshit or does this make sense? Cool. So I want to show you. So I'm going to show you two universal principles. Number one is the more you govern yourself, the more the universe will give you to govern. Right? The opposite is also true. The less you govern yourself, the more you're going to need to get the more you need the universe to govern you. Extreme case of this is someone who's in jail. Like they have no sense of emotional, like internal governance within themselves. And so they just do things on impulse. And as a result, they need the world to govern them. But the more, like, this is a Warren Buffett quote, the next one. If you cannot control your emotions, you cannot control your money. So the more you can govern yourself, and this is a practical way for you to govern each dollar, then the more that you find, the more you receive to govern. It's the same principle in leadership. The more you are able to set a direction, the more you're able to govern yourself and what you need, the more capable you are of governing a team. And in time, you receive the team to govern. And here's the second part. As I said, there's two. One's the governance part, and then the other part is what you're doing. The greater the purpose you pursue, the more energy will be recruited to help you achieve it. So I'll make that one practical for you right now. Some of you will have seen this, some of you won't. I want you now, we'll do a practical thing. Look around the room for anything that you can see that is blue right now. Look around for blue, anything, blue cloths, blue paintings, blue tabletops, blue people, blue bags, blue phones, blue, and close your eyes, if you will, please, and tell me what you saw that was gold. And if you want, open your eyes now and see if you can see a bit more gold this time. Technically, our carpet's kind of gold. So, so what I want to show you with this example is you may just have gold all around you, but you're used to looking for blue. The more you have a goal or a vision or a purpose, that is, the grander it is, the more energy around you that you have inside you will recruit to help you get there. And those are the two components. It's your internal governance and it's your external purpose. Those are the two things which actually help you get to where to give you a reason to keep going, to create all of these things. If you look at both Tamsin and it was Zane, when they spoke about what they liked about basketball and movies, it was just because they loved it. They did it for the lols, they did it for the social, they did it because of the experience. They get to escape into a fantasy land. That's why they did it. So that's their purpose, and in accordance to their purpose, they recruit their energy to achieve it. So if you have a purpose to save up $1,000, that requires a different level of energy and a different level of creativity and discipline and skill and thought than trying to accumulate $10,000 versus trying to accumulate $100,000. So setting a purpose and a goal for what you want is the other part that's really important. So with all of this being explained, does anyone have any questions so far or any thoughts so far, even on the governance part or anything?
The last principle that you referenced there, Tim, really resonates. The greater the purpose you pursue, the more energy will be recruited to help you achieve it. I resonates a lot with me because I'm providing a lot of energy to achieve my purpose in what is wealth building. So I make sure I prioritize and put a lot of energy towards that to make sure that's successful for me.
Yes, and it shifts as a result. If you have like say $1 million goal or $10 million goal or whatever, that shifts your career decisions. It shifts everything else because of that purpose that you have. Whereas if you've got like vague goals, you get vague results and you do vague actions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Anyone else have any thoughts or comments on all of this? Cash money.
What up? I had a question, man. Like, when you have like a mission or a purpose that you're going after, and you feel like, oh shit, I need a break, I need to govern, but the circumstances around you might dictate that it's not possible, or you might, take a step back in your purpose if you take a break right now.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that? Because that's a trap that I've fallen into a couple of times.
Man, that's a really great question. So what you want to do, man, you don't want to think about it like I'm either doing purpose or I'm doing governance. We're always doing both, So for example, I have a goal, like, to be honest, yes, I shared that, like, 30 grand and all that stuff. But my goal actually this year was just to do 16K consistently every year, right? So that's the purpose part. 16K consistently every month. I'm so sorry. That's the purpose part. And then obviously, like, 16K means, approximately I get to work with 4 boys every month. So that's the purpose part. But then the governance part is kind of like the predominant like thing that I do, which is cool. What am I going to do with my time to make sure that I can achieve that, including looking after myself? Like, before this, I was in the sauna, actually, so like, what am I doing with my time to look after myself? So that it's not one or the other, it's always both, and it's predominantly governance. Can you ask me a follow-up question, Kesh, if I didn't answer that properly?
I think that answers it. I think where I like struggle is like the governance side when like putting all this energy out, because like especially like study, it's all pretty structured for me, where I'm like, okay, there's a semester coming up, it's time to get into gear. But I think doing them at the same time, that sense of duality is not something I considered. So I think
Right.
that does kind of answer everything.
Yeah. So I would say, if you go back to this, right? Like, on the plus side, you want to put down, well, how much energy is, like, even if you want to put a number against it, how much energy is it taking me to do my work and my study? And then you want to write down on the other side, well, how much energy am I going to get from doing my, like, like, what do I need to achieve the same amount of energy points from a replenish?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, cool. Any other questions, Kesh? Or does that answer the question?
Yeah. That's answers it from mine. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Kesh. So you want to make sure that both are being met. Yeah, thank you so much. Cool. So, but as you can see, everyone, like, the question skewed naturally towards kind of the next thing I wanted to mention, which is like, what really gets in the way? Do you allocate for savings, treats, rent, charity, blah, 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 even if people have told you to in the past? And if not, why not? Because what I often find, this is the number one thing that I get told by people considering doing coaching. They'll say, Dim, you know what? I realized the gold actually is in front of me, yet for some reason I struggle to actually go for it. So I recognize I'm getting in my own way for some reason, and I'm not sure what it is. So I want to give you an opportunity during the reflection piece to think about what actually seems to get in the way when you're going after what you're going for, because sometimes we have an illusion that we don't know what to do, but often we find that we actually do know what we need to do. And it's something else which is actually blocking us from going for it. So what I offer you to think about is, like, if you don't do these things, why don't you do them? Is it genuinely because you just didn't know? Or is there another reason? Is it because you have an obligation to, you feel you have to meet all these last minute needs from other people, which is kind of like a boundaries issue? Is it you struggle to manage your own mind and your own emotions? You know, do you find opportunities are already on the table, but you don't go for them? And why is it? Is it self-doubt? Is it fear of failure? Is it lack of direction or vision or purpose? And I want to give you another minute to chuck down what is actually getting in the way. And then we'll keep going. Cool. I would like to give the opportunity for anyone to share anything and even ask a question before I get into like the last bit.
I might go, dude.
Of course.
I think the main thing, like, I guess for a bit of context for everyone, like I did a retreat with them and we worked together, and I went out like all guns blazing and then burnt out. And I think I burnt out like well after our retreat. And I think it's because during that period where everything was like going well, I was doing a lot of very difficult things, but I also had like the equal level of support from the boys, like from you, and like just in general. And then I didn't have a break. And so I think like making sure that I'm getting the same level of support, or like the level supporting myself to the same extent that I'm challenging myself. Because like otherwise I'll just get hammered.
Yes. No, dude, sorry, I didn't know if there was going to be a question at the end of that. Kesh, that's it. What you just said is it. You know, I think like, you know, it's kind of sad to talk about it. It's like Kobe Bryant was spending $18 million on himself, on his own, whatever it is, cryotherapy, oxygen chambers, fucking his coaching, his mindset stuff, like whatever. Because in proportion to the swing of how much you want to stretch, you need to offset it by looking after yourself. Yeah. Does that make sense, Kesh? And do you have any follow-up questions on that?
Yeah, it makes sense. I think no questions, but I like what sprung to mind was like, you know, like whenever a sports player, like for me, it's always Nadal. He always gets up and like thanks his team. And I was like, oh, you know, that's nice. But actually it's like really important to surround yourself like with that support. And if you want to do something hard or like difficult, then you also have to support yourself to the same extent, which I think it's like,
dude, one of the most powerful things I heard, it was like an old army sergeant that I heard saying this. He goes, he received this award and he goes, oh, I accept this on behalf of, and then he listed out all of these people. And his mindset towards the whole thing was, it was never about him getting the award. Like the whole team got the award. He just happened to be the figurehead of it. Yeah, definitely. Good share. Any other thoughts or questions? Look, I do appreciate that I promised an hour and we're going a little bit over time, so please do forgive me. What I'll just quickly share, like I was going to do this a little bit later, but if anyone was interested in coaching, this is what we do in coaching, by the way. Like all of the I talked about literal tactics, like what you do. I talked about psychology. I talked about like, you know, how you approach it, not just from a mindset, but from an energy level, from thinking about love, thinking about the different sides, and then also thinking about what gets what gets in the way of you executing. So, I know about half of the people here, I think, or maybe a third, are either in a coaching program with me at the moment or in the alumni group. These are the kind of things that we go through in coaching. So if you're ever curious about it, what I'll quickly say is the first step we do in coaching, it's a little bit like going to the physio. If you go to the physio and you tell them that your back hurts, I think it's only a pretty bad physio, which just tries to shove a back program at you. I think a good physio is going to assess you first and go, okay, man, like, yeah, I get that you need a back massage, but your hamstrings are tight, your posture is off, so we can massage your back, but if you don't heal the root causes, then you're going to have to come back for more physio work because we haven't actually addressed the root causes. So the first thing we do when you're considering coaching is we just do an assessment first. And an assessment is kind of like a one-on-one private way to talk about your actual situation and what your your individual sticking points are, and trying to get to the root cause of what's causing them. And based off that, I have 4 different programs, to be honest. And based off the assessment, then I can say, hey, listen, I've assessed you, and this is the program that would be perfect for what you're trying to make progress on. Or I can say, look, I've assessed you, and it's not really something I can help with. And about 3 out of 10 people, like, that's what I'll say to them. The other 7, I'm usually able to put together an offer for. So if you are interested, and before I continue, if you are interested in considering coaching, the first step would be an assessment. In the chat window, I've put a link to my calendar, and given it's our first session, it's free, so you can book that in. It's an hour, it's on Zoom. We'll understand your profile fully, and then based on that, we can I can recommend a program, and I can take you through the details. So yeah, that's if you are considering that, that's how you do it. Cool. So here's the last thing I want to show you, because I mentioned that there's 2 ingredients in all of this. And some of you may have seen this one before. I'm sure people here have heard your network equals your net worth. Can I have a thumbs up who's heard that one before? Your network equals your net worth. Now, to go back to that topic of getting in your own way, or what gets in the way, can anyone unmute themselves and tell me, when you see, for example, a high value connection, or like someone who's maybe intimidating, or someone who you believe is like a really good contact for you to have, what are the typical things that come up for you which have stopped you in the past from approaching that person? So we've all heard networking was net worth. I'd love for someone to unmute themselves and share what stopped you from creating a bigger network.
I'll jump in, Dim. I mean, in the past, it's kind of been like, you don't feel like you're quite at that level or their level. I mean, if you think about it, just even from a finance perspective, right? It's like, I'm looking at them to learn how to make money, but I almost feel like I'm in a different ballpark. And like, why would they want to sort of speak to me about it? So yeah, I mean, those are like probably the initial sort of things that have come to mind. And then even from a sort of career perspective, like talking to C-levels and things like that, outside of trying to sort of pitch to them, it's kind of like, would they actually have the time and did they actually want to sort of lend their time and lend their expertise and experience to me?
You really great share. Can we just have a weird Zoom applause for our boy Josh? I appreciate all the participation. Thank you. That's great. I reckon what Joshy just shared there is not an uncommon one either. And it leads to my next thing, right? Often the time the gold is all around us. The gold can be all around us, but for some reason, we're not going for it. And that's because the hidden factor in all this is self-worth. Your self-worth is going to determine what network you're comfortable of creating around you. And your self-worth also determines what net worth you're comfortable of holding with you. Your self-worth equals your network equals your net worth, right? Because some people, and I'm sure you've heard this one heaps of times, there are people out there who are like lottery winners or whatever, but like I think Grant Cardone said this the best. He's like, don't tell me you love money if every time you get it, you get rid of it. You exchange it for something else. If you really love money, when you get it, you keep it, right? Like, or you get it, or you put it somewhere where you believe it's going to multiply. So your self-worth, which is basically your sense of what you believe you're allowed to have, and what you believe what conversations you believe you're entitled to, is going to shape so much of your financial destiny. Because there are like, and I'll give you an example. There was a time where my self-worth dictated that I didn't want to have more than 100,000 in my account. Like I was like 100,000 in, but I didn't want to have below 20,000 in my account. And so like a sine wave, my bank account would fluctuate between 20,000 and 100,000. When it was getting close to 20,000, I would be like, oh shit, I got to start saving. I got to get some more money in there. But when he was getting close to 100,000, I'm like, oh man, like, yeah, I got money to splurge. I got money to let go of. What if your self-worth was that you were a millionaire, right? Like if you seriously believed you're a millionaire, you told yourself that every single day, which is another thing, like I show you the boys, which is like about affirmation. If you genuinely start to tell yourself you are the type of person that makes a minimum of $10,000 a month, or 20,000 or 30,000 or 40,000 or whatever it is, it starts to shift the way you show up in the world. And when you have less than 10,000, you start to go, shit, I've got to get that number up. And that's better than having a minimum standard on your self-worth of having $0 in your account. Is this point making sense or not really? Yeah, we've got our highest aspirations, but we've also got our minimum standards. And while we all would like our highest aspirations, we will fight like hell to not go below our minimum standard. So here's another one for you to write down. What's your minimum standard of how much money is going to be in your bank account? And what's your minimum standard on what you're going to earn? Because if your minimum standard, because if you really want to make progress, you want to increase the minimum standard of how much money is going to be in your bank account and how much money you're going to earn. And one of the things I show the boys is every 3 months, reflect and increase that minimum standard by 1%. So there's always a subtle pressure. So look, I do appreciate we're a bit over time, but those are the things. And now in terms of what creates your self-worth, there's two factors. Let me move my screen again. I mentioned it before. It's your purpose and it's your internal alignment. So you've got to have a big reason for why you're going. Otherwise, you genuinely just run out of motivation and you don't feel the confidence to go for it. And this is where the deeper work comes in. It's connecting to a freaking, like, you guys probably saw my purpose. I share it pretty often. I want to help a fucking generation. I want to help our fucking generation of boys who've come from a similar background to me. I don't care about skin color. I care more about socioeconomic. If you've come from a similar background to me, I want to help our entire freaking generation increase in their knowledge of these personal development concepts, which our parents did not know to teach us. And I know that when the boys know this, it doesn't just help them earn more, it helps them, like, you know, in their own self-esteem, it helps them in their relationships. And as a result of that, it's going to help their families and the future generation. So my purpose didn't start like that. My purpose just started with, I just want to help the boys. In a way, it hasn't really changed from that. It's just expanded a little bit. But one thing you want to ask yourself is, like, what is it that's compelling enough for you to give you the motivation to go for bigger things? Because you, like, look at Elon or look at any of the billionaires. They have a freaking purpose that we probably even, like, everyone knows Elon's purpose and Jeff Bezos's purpose. Jeff Bezos's purpose is just, I don't know, take over the world and be the Illuminati. I don't know, like, Jeff Bezos's one, but it's, I presume, like, you know, it's a really big one. It's probably written somewhere. I know Elon's one is he wants to save humanity. So all of them, he has the reason to accumulate the money. And then the other piece is the internal piece, which is getting out of your own way. So I apologize, I'm a bit over time. I just wanted to go to Q&A, you know, and then we'll wrap. You know, because I want to make time for Q&A. If you would like to explore the journey further with me, as I said in the Zoom, I've chucked in my assessment link, and I'm very happy to take you through an assessment, and we can decide if there's a program that can help you. If by the way, like, given everyone here knows, like, I'm primarily specialized in working with men. If there's any ladies here that are looking for basically the exact same thing that I do, Anna, my fiance, is here on the call. You can see her. Angel, do you want to just unmute yourself for a second and share with us who you are?
Okay, I'm Angel. Oh, I think it's gonna be.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, there's an echo because he's right here. Let me just.
So sorry, guys. My beautiful fiance Anna has sat next to me in all the $120,000 worth of training that I've done, and she was the one who introduced me to the mentor that we learned these wealth principles together with. So Anna, if you want to drop yours in here, in case any of the ladies want to contact you, you know, you can do that. Does anyone have that aside? You can book into my calendar. Does anyone have any other questions or comments? Please just unmute yourself and do share.
No questions, Dim, but yeah, and I thought it was a really good session. And I mean, just to sort of anyone who hasn't kind of been to your pardon me, personal coaching sessions, I think, yeah, regardless of which way you start, be it this wealth principles, you know, webinar, or be it starting with a personal session first, I think you'll find the two I don't know what the word, the descriptive word for it is, but like it's fucking cool when it all comes together. Part of my language. So yeah, highly recommended. And Dim, yeah, thanks very much again for taking the time out of your day, mate.
That's so sweet, Josh. Thank you, Josh. You're most welcome. And it's great to see your face, man. Does anyone else have any other comments or questions? Cal, would you stay on at the end, man?
Yeah, of course, mate.
Yeah, bless. I actually was in the army with Cal's brother. Thank you, Josh. Thanks for coming. If there's any other questions, please stay on. If not, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you all in person one day soon. See you, everyone. See you, Cash Money. Good to see you.
See you, Dim, bro.
Bless you, Cal.
Recording if you want.
Yeah. Annie, do you want to come over here, Angel? Yeah. Talk to our boy Cal.